Welcome, welcome, welcome. You're tuned in to another edition of ACC Baseball, etc., presented by Pitch Logic. I'm Daron Vaught. As usual, Danny Graves is here. It's a good thing we're talking about not the physical here because he's in Chicago in transit. If you guys only knew what this man was going through to prop up his phone so that he could be on this stream right now, you would be amazed. Maybe we'll have him talk about it and elaborate on such. And today, because we're part of the D1 family, Danny, we get regular visits from other D1 family members. So really excited to have Aaron Fitt joining us, not for the first time on ACC Baseball, etc., but for the first time in this new excursion of ACC Baseball, etc. Aaron Relaxed Fit joins the show. You like that?
You know what? This is such a thrill, such an honor to be on your program, gentlemen. Oh my gosh, it's the dawn of a new day. We got the ACC, etc. boys, part of the D1 family. I'm fired up. Let's go.
Love it.
And
we will.
You said he was on this, but I wasn't on that particular episode. So I mean, I'm more thrilled that we have Aaron Relaxed Fit on with the both of us at the same time.
Yeah, I think you big timed me last time, which is typical. Typical.
He did. To be fair,
that's not true.
To be fair, he did the same thing to Mike Gambino that week.
Outrageous
stuff. All right, so let me pay the bills. ACC Baseball, etc., is brought to you by Pitch Logic, the system used by players, coaches, scouts, and instructors at all levels of play, from youth leagues to the big leagues. The easy-to-use and affordable technology makes the platform accessible to every player at every level. All the metrics and features used at the highest level. See pitchlogic.com for more information. As Gravy, you froze on us there. Did you have something to say prior to me doing the read?
No. Did I really freeze? I actually stopped real quick because I wanted you to pay the bills. So I didn't have anything. I was just going to keep carrying on just with nonsense. You know how I do sometimes.
All right. Well, I don't know. It remains to be seen. Did your screen freeze or did you freeze? We don't know. I guess we never will.
I froze, not the screen. So we're good. Technology-wise.
Yeah, that's better. It's better.
Yeah.
You freeze.
It's like that Outcast song where everybody just stops on a dime when they're dancing. It's like that's gravy.
Yeah. But I'll leave it up to my talking freezing because my dancing we don't want to see.
No, probably not.
Sure, yeah, probably not.
Definitely
not.
Not.
All right. It is fall. It is still early enough to where, Aaron, you did not freeze when you went up to the Northeast to begin your fall ball preview journey, beginning there with two ACC schools so far, which is sort of the premise of you coming on with us, BC, and then NC State upon your return to the great state of North Carolina. Let's start with Boston College because I mentioned Mike Gambino already, and he is no longer their coach. This figures to be kind of an interesting year for the Eagles. Over years and years of Mike Gambino, a BC guy, being at the helm of that program, Aaron, I think you sort of, if it was always you or whatever, when you encountered that program over the past dozen years, I think you probably knew sort of what to expect from a culture standpoint, from the way things were done standpoint. Right. Did anything stand out this time around under first-year head coach Todd Interdonato?
Yeah, it's a great place to start because it really is all about anytime you've got a new, first year coach, as you guys know, it's all about culture building, right? It's about these guys trying to figure each other out. And I was there for the first official day of their fall practice. And so it was kind of cool to watch the coaching staff interact with these players that they're still, getting to know. And to watch them kind of try to instill their own system and their own values and right at the ground floor level. And in their case, I've seen Todd Interdonato's Wofford teams practice before in the fall. And oftentimes I've been in there, and it's just they barely scrimmage at all, and it's just like he spent so much time on the base running part of it, guys. Like that's Wofford, that was their kind of their MO. I mean, for a decade straight, more than that, they were like top 3 in the country in stolen bases per game every single year. And when he talked about when he first instilled that system, they knew they were going to get thrown out a bunch, and they're like, that's fine. We want to kind of make this our thing, right? We want to make this part of our identity. And part of that is, there's a learning curve. And in the beginning, they got tossed a bunch, and then they got better and better at it, more proficient at it. And you'd have guys that are just big old, donkey corner infielders out there, and they're still threats to steal bases because they pick their spots so well and their reads. And so he started practice. Of course, there's a good chunk of practice that was devoted to just standard, like, reads, secondary reads, your basic base running stuff like 101, which of course it's like, it was so perfect that's how they spent a good chunk of this practice. But then they get into the exhibition, and you can kind of see, or the scrimmage rather, and you can kind of see, the way the coaches would get on players a little bit and tease them, and the way they would, stop practice and impart a lesson here or there. I mean, I think Todd can really coach. We've been saying that for quite a while now. But it is a little bit of a different vibe than Gimpy. Every program is a little bit different, and it'll be, I think, fun to kind of see how their style changes. Will it change? I think it definitely will. Is he going to bring the same kind of base running aggressiveness, to this program? That's one thing that they did at Wofford, in part because they felt like they had a competitive disadvantage. I mean, they felt like with the resources they had, here's a way we can kind of distinguish themselves. Maybe the same is true at BC, right? I mean, relative to the rest of the ACC, they don't have the kind of resources. Maybe you're not getting the same pure talent that they're getting at Miami or Clemson or wherever, North Carolina, Virginia. Maybe they stick with that same philosophy, or maybe he mixes it up. It's something I'm supposed to talk with him again tomorrow. I'm kind of going to ask him about that a little bit. But so those kind of things that stuck out to me a little bit. He's always emphasized commanding the fastball. That's like number one when it comes to pitching staff. They don't chase velocity. At Wofford, they didn't chase velocity, but like if you had an 88 to 90 guy who could spot up, with one swing and miss secondary pitch, those are the guys that they would go after. Now, again, is that something that they're going to change on the recruiting trail now they have a bigger brand name? I would imagine so, but I suspect some of those core philosophies will remain the same.
So, Aaron, when you mentioned kind of his MO when he was at Wofford, obviously he recruited these guys to come in and knew that who he could use as base stealers. And you say the big donkeys did too, but I'm sure he goes out and recruits guys that he knows are going to be in this position to do this. Does BC already have, in your opinion, at this point, do they have guys on the roster that can fit that mold?
Yeah, I mean, I think Barry Walsh is a classic. Like this guy is such an Interdonato type player. He's what is he now? 5th year senior? I don't know. It feels like he's been there forever. 6
like
years.
17.
Who could say 7? Yeah, right. Like Barry Walsh been there a long time. He had a good year last year. He hit for more power, he hit for average, stole bases. I think he was 14 for 16, stealing bases. So like he does a lot of things. Plays great defense in center field. It's funny that watching practice, Greg Sullivan, who's been there as an assistant at Boston College for a long time, he came up to me during the scrimmage. He's like, "Hey, Barry Walsh, he's got to be an all-fit team guy next year, right? He's got to be." Right? And I was like, "Yeah, no doubt. Like he's my kind of guy. Just a hard-nosed, winning ball player. So I think he's going to be kind of one of the heart and soul guys for this team, and it'll kind of set the tone a little bit. I think Cole Mercado is a guy that you can look to push the action on the bases a little bit. I feel like that's maybe a breakout candidate for Boston College this year is in his I guess his sophomore year in the program. Kind of got his feet wet, got a decent amount of playing time last year, didn't really drive the ball, but he can run. He's a good athlete, kind of a slasher type from the left side. And I would peg him to be kind of a breakout candidate there as well. So I mean, those are a couple of guys that stood out right away. There are some other veterans back there that it feels like some of these faces that we've seen for years, right? Like Vinny Cimini's still there, like
Mhm.
you know, again, like Barry Walsh, like man, get a job, dude. Come on, like let's go. But he loves baseball. He doesn't want to get a job. He wants to play, baby. You know, they got some guys like that have been around a few years. I mean, Cam Leary, I think, is a really intriguing guy to keep an eye on. You know, and talking to some people around the program, I mean, you know, they know it's like it's all about. Can we lay off the breaking ball out of the zone? Can we reduce the chase rate? Because the raw power is real. We've seen flashes of it over the course of his career. And yeah, I think he's got a chance to be a centerpiece guy. He hit 10 home runs last year, you know, despite the strikeouts, and it felt like kind of a down year, right? But he still produced. I think he's got a lot of upside, and I wonder, you know, if this staff can really bring out the most in him with their ability to kind of teach the discipline approach piece.
Yeah, it's interesting when you mention Leary in particular. To me, anyways, this is not a change of scenery for these guys who are returning, but it's sort of a change in environment in some ways, right? Anytime you got multiple things working in this dynamic, it's the new coach comes in and doesn't lose everybody to the transfer portal,
right?
But also these are guys who in some cases, like Leary, could maybe use, not that, you know, there was something between him and Gambino or whatever, maybe a fresh perspective and just adding to the guidance that he had gotten under an old coaching staff can help push him to that next level. So that's an interesting one to me. With that in mind, the guys staying around, it's kind of unheard of, Aaron, especially in 2023, right? I mean, sometimes a coaching change is way past the point at which a player feels like they need to go on and move on to another program.
Yeah.
What was your sense of the veteran guys being back? Like, what were they like on that? Like you said, you had the great perspective of being there on the first day. What were the veterans like?
They seemed engaged, you know, certainly. You know, you kind of see them. You could see the leadership right away, actually, for some of these veteran guys, you know, just the way that they would interact with some of the younger players. I mean, you know, John West was there. He didn't pitch that day, but still was a presence, right? I mean, as you would expect, is kind of one of the older guys on that pitching staff that, yeah, you know, he's got really, I think, special demeanor. We all know his backstory, and what he's had to overcome with his family and ALS and everything. And it's been a inspirational story, but he's also just a really likable guy and charismatic. And they have a number of guys like that on this team this year that, you know, I think is really important, is you kind of build a bridge to the new staff and kind of the new era there. But so, yeah, I mean, I did see some of that for sure. You know, obviously these guys, they love the program. I mean, there are a lot of local kids, New England kids up there. And a lot of them could have gone elsewhere. He could have gone south to play college baseball, but there's a reason they went to BC, and they're committed. You know, I think there's a lot to that. And yeah, I tell you, I mean, I didn't get a fantastic sense really for a lot of the new guys, but I mean, there's talent here. You know, I mean, Austin Hartzell is a name that you guys should circle now. So as a true freshman, they're really excited about this guy, middle infielder, kind of a projectable, you know, it needs to add some strength, but I mean, it's a real live wire kind of athlete with bat speed. You know, they think he can really defend and he can really hit. And so the comparison that I heard was, you know, Coach Sullivan thinks this guy's going to be Cody Morissette, you know, who was a really good player at Boston College and a good pro. He thinks this guy is that kind of player. So file that name away.
So yeah, that's a really good nugget. So I've already got it highlighted since you mentioned that. So does it say something though? Like you mentioned the older guys that are here that stuck around and didn't go to the transfer portal. You got to believe that they really feel like they're still going to be good, even with Gambino leaving. And as much as we love Gambino, you know, you don't really just pick up everything and take your ball and go somewhere else when you still have a chance to be good, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. Like I think certainly if some of these older guys that are, you know, good players, they could have found a home somewhere else if they thought the team was going to stink. You know, maybe you cut bait. Even if you do love BC, maybe you try to find something else, you got the opportunity to do so. But I think having some continuity with the coaching staff too. I mean, Greg Sullivan being there still, he's been there for over a decade, I believe. I mean, I think that helped kind of re-recruit some of these guys, if you will. But yeah, I mean, I have to imagine, again, it's still early in their fall. We don't have a great sense for this team. There are, there's some turnover that we have to account for, but I have to imagine they'll probably take some kind of step back. Like I doubt they'll be as good as they were last year when they were vying to host a regional. That would surprise me. But it feels like they're going to be competitive. It feels like they've got the pieces and the experience to be a potential regional team again, which that's something that they haven't really done there in back-to-back years at BC. So I think that's kind of your storyline is can they get back to the postseason?
Yeah, and just as a program, I don't know if this year is as important as maybe the next handful collectively, just because Mike Gambino had gotten this program to a point where they weren't always especially good.
Right.
But they were competitive in what we obviously know to be a very tough baseball conference. And I think a lot of people on the outside, Aaron, just have this inkling that, well, we saw Gambino do it, so he's probably the only person who could do it, right? So I think if you polled the room, and by the room I mean ACC baseball fans, there would probably be an expectation of a falling off of sorts over the next handful of years. Just like with your read on the conference and the landscape, what do you fall anywhere in that expectation? Or are you sort of in the middle? Let's wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, I think wait and see is the right approach. I think if you were just playing the percentages, you'd probably say, yeah, they probably will slide back because again, it's just, the disadvantages that they face in that league are very significant. I mean, it's a kind of program where really you kind of build to make a run every few years because it's a private school. It's expensive. It's in New England. You're in a warm weather conference, a league that's largely dominated by warm weather powers. There's a lot of things working against them, and it kind of feels like, it's hard to build depth at a place like that. And you kind of, like they've had years where it felt like they were really built to contend, but you're an injury or two away from, just being in deep trouble. We thought, of course, in 2020, like with Freilich and Morissette and those guys, like they were built to really win, and they kind of got robbed of that year. It was one of the key years in their window, and that stunk. But then the next year they came back, and some of those guys were still there, and they just kind of fell flat. So I think it's not a real easy place to win, even though I think it's a good job. I like what they've done with their facilities. They do have a brand name. It's not an easy place to win. And so if you're just playing the percentages, you'd say, yeah, they're probably going to fall back some. But I think this new coaching staff is really talented and good enough to keep them competitive, and at least competitive, right? I mean, I don't think you're going to probably be a doormat too often. I think they're going to be generally competitive.
Yeah. I'm really interested to see Cam Leary. Gravy, you got anything else on BC before we move on to the Wolfpack?
No, I'm just excited to see this running game because as much as I love motion happening, putting pressure on the defense, and this is just going to add to that. So, I mean, competitive is great. This may put them, a little bit, kind of just a little bit higher than what we'd expect by putting that pressure on the defense. You just never know with baseball, obviously, but I'm looking forward to see if he brings that style over.
And it feels like if you look at the big leagues now, right? I mean, I know they've had some changes with the sizes of the bases and everything. Like the running game's back. It's like for a while, it felt like it was dormant in baseball, and that's why what Wofford was doing was really an outlier because everyone, I mean, to some degree, that period where they were running a lot overlapped with the dead ball, dead bat era in college baseball. And it was just like a way for them to manufacture offense that made a lot of sense. But lately, as home runs have really spiked and gone nuts in college baseball, they kept on running, right? Like, which a
Yeah.
lot of other teams weren't doing. And so I'm with you. I'm curious to see how that style plays in the ACC. It's kind of, I mean, Louisville's had some success with a very aggressive base running style. That's something that's defined their program for years as well. Not quite as hyper aggressive as Wofford, but still, like, yeah, I think it can really work if you do it well and you really take pride in it, like Dan McDonald did, and like, Todd Donato does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So upon your return home from the Northeast, you settled back in to find yourself at NC State, yucking it up with friend of the program, Elliot Avent, their head coach. They interest me. You talk about windows, Aaron. I still expect them to be good.
Yeah.
And I don't know that you'll ever find a year where I don't expect them to be good now from here on out. But you mentioned specifically 2020, 2021, 2022 was sort of tail end of that, right?
Yeah.
Like that felt like, I've said for years 2020 was Elliott's best team. Especially the way Devontae Brown started that year red hot. I mean, he could have doubled for Barry Bonds for the couple of weeks before the season was shut down.
It's crazy.
And then, you mostly get the same group back, 21, the rough luck, obviously, of both those instances. But there are some hangers on from the window teams. So they interest me in that way. Normally we would start broad and go narrow. I'm going to start narrow because you got to see Sam Highfill throw.
Yeah.
What were your impressions of his throwing this fall?
Yeah. Well said, as far as a guy that was a mainstay of that 2021 Omaha team, really one of their best guys. Right. And pitched great. And on that run to Omaha, also randomly had to hit and held his own there. In the pack, was it the
couple
Pac-12?
Knocks on Kumar, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Rocker,
right?
Yeah.
This was the best I've seen him since that run, honestly. And you've seen flashes of it here and there, but it was very clear last year that Highfill was not the same guy, and he was kind of like getting by and being serviceable on pure grit, but the stuff wasn't the same. But the scrimmage I saw, it was 6 up, 6 down, and it was breezy, and it was a little more juice on the fastball. He's kind of lowered his arm slot a little bit, and it was up to 94, 91, 93, which again is like well up from where he had been. Kind of a really simple arm action that I think is repeatable. And rather than kind of throwing that big kind of 12-6er that he had thrown, he's got more of a lateral sweeping slider that he showed real feel for. I mean, it was a good pitch, and he got a strikeout with a changeup too. I mean, he's always had pitchability. I didn't see him do any of the slot shifting stuff. I don't think he needs to do that. If you can, I think keep it simple. If you can succeed with this, more traditional look, run with it. I don't think we need to drop down anymore, but that's just my opinion. He looked really good, and I know it's been a long road for him, but I mean, he can be a serious difference maker. That's the thing about this team is you still got, Highfill and Willardson, or Whitaker, rather. I mean, it's just like these guys that have been around that they're winners that have pitchability, and they've got a number of these kind of veteran guys back, and then you throw in some of these young arms, boy, and that's what makes this NC State team, I think, very intriguing.
So we always talk pitching about repeating your mechanics. So dropping down in different arm slots, that can't be easy, especially for a young kid. Do you know why it's different now for Highfield? Like, did they just decide we're going to just keep it simple? We're going to, use your natural arm slot, or like what got them to change that?
Yeah, I mean, and I should clarify, I don't know for sure if he's abandoned the sidearm stuff or not. I know that was something that he used to do, but he wouldn't always do, and maybe he still does, but I know that his standard arm slot is a little lower than it was. And I think it looked really clean to me, for what that's worth. But yeah, I mean, it's, hey, he had feel for it. The guy he was always one of those wily slot shifting guys. Like when he dropped down, he generally was effective with it. But, I prefer a guy, if it's working from a conventional slot, keep it simple, keep it repeatable. And so we'll see if he does that. And you know, I mentioned Logan Whitaker. I mean, Matt Willison is back again also. So like both those guys, like, right? Like these, you know, gosh,
Willison's got like 900 collegiate innings under his belt.
It's crazy,
right? It's just wild.
It's like these guys, and again, it's just holdovers from the COVID era. That it's like, how is this guy still in school? But like, they've got those guys, and those guys are going to eat a lot of valuable innings. I mean, Logan Whitaker looked good too. I mean, you know, I've always kind of liked him. His fastball maybe can play a little bit light, right? That's kind of the knock on him. He's, I mean, it's sure it was 91, 93, touch of 4 the other day, but you know, the fastball can get hit, but I mean, he's got such good feel for the slider, the changeup, little cutter that he throws. I mean, he can keep you off balance. Like that's a really valuable veteran piece. I mean, there's so much experience with those 3 guys. And then you sprinkle in, this is what I was excited about, guys, the young power arms, because NC State is not a program that's really known for power arms. I mean, if you had to say like, this is, I'm going to ramble on this one because I've got a lot of opinions on this, but NC State, it's not really a program that has, my opinion, generally speaking, like the windows thing. I don't think it applies to them as much. I think their window is always like, they always have a window. Almost every year it feels like they're a top 25 kind of team. Now you've got some, you know, windows where you've got Rodon and Turner, you know, that's a little different, right? That's a little bit higher.
Yeah.
But like, generally speaking, they hit every year. And it's just, you know, do we have enough arms? Do we have impact arms? Do we have arms that can really shove at you with power stuff, you know, and which I think are essential in the postseason. Like I think you can win 40 games and run through the ACC every year with pitchability guys. I mean, look at what Florida State did for 4 decades. I mean, how often do they really have shut down power arms? It was a lot of pitchability guys
that can pitch.
Guys that could pitch and teams that could hit, you know, with their college approach, their inside out thing, all the things that they did, like they had the formula down. But I mean, if you want to pose the question, why didn't Florida State ever win at all? I mean, I think it's because they just seldom had national championship caliber power arms. And so anyway, this NC State team, I mean, again, it's some young guys, some freshmen, but they're exciting, you know, and I saw a couple of them. Jacob Duden in particular was from the right side, was up to 95 for me. You know, sat 92, 94 for 3 innings or whatever it was. I mean, showed you making of a plus slider, feel for a changeup. I like that guy a lot. They got a kid who's a transfer from Cortland State or SUNY Cortland up there. Good D2 program in New York. Shane Van Dam is the name, former quarterback for Cortland State on the football team. It's like a lean, lanky, live-bodied guy that was up to 97 in that scrimmage last week.
Wow.
You know, just pumping 4 to 6, solid slider, you know, I mean, like could be a back end piece. So, and then this freshman lefty, Ryan Marone was, I mean, you know, 92 from the left side, you know, for freshmen with a good slider and changeup. Like these are real pieces. These are real guys, and they've got a bunch more that I haven't seen yet. I'm hoping to go back for another look, but I think this freshman class is a huge difference maker potentially for NC State if these guys can hit the ground running.
Dude, I'm looking at the roster. 6'6" Shane Van Dam.
Yeah, it's a real body.
Yeah, it kind of like just pumps you up when like hearing about him.
It's a real name too, isn't it, Gravy? Like that's a
yeah.
How can that guy
Dude,
fail?
Yeah, that's intimidating, man. I thank God I don't have to hit against that.
We scrambled to get, for lack of a better way to put it, you know, the word is the word, content together, Aaron, prior to last season, just because Danny and I got this thing rolling like the week that the season opened. I do anticipate an all-name team for the ACC coming out at some point.
Yeah.
Van Dam's a good, he's a contender.
Candidate, yeah, for sure.
One. That's just a bad, you know what? Like some names are funny. That one's not funny. It's just a badass name. That's all that is.
100%.
Yeah. I would love to be the announcer whenever he comes into the game.
No, for sure.
I can't wait, Grady.
Yeah, you're going to get it. Yep, you're going to get it. If we ever do a game together, Daron, though, I'm going to say it before you do. I'm just telling you right now.
Okay, no, that's fine. But see, like that, I'm okay with that because I know there are plenty. You'll just be like, it's all yours. It's all yours.
Yeah.
Van Dam's one we know, right? That's easy to figure out. Yeah.
What are we gonna do to get you two guys in a booth together on air for like a weekly ACC game of the week with Daron and Gravy? Like we got to make this happen. Let's go.
Well,
I agree.
Yeah, I agree. The way that could happen is if they let me do it away from home. Because when I do games for them, it's usually at home. Daron gets to go to the places. He gets to go to all these nice booths and everything. I have to do it in my office.
Now, Gravy, this is maybe not for a conversation on the air, but I will tell you, I have been told, I've been enlightened that in the event that something like that would happen, I'm a pretty quick drive to Charlotte where they have a studio. So it might seem a little ridiculous to do a remote. So like I live at a Chapel Hill address. It might seem ridiculous to do a remote broadcast of a game at UNC from Charlotte, but I'll drive to Charlotte if that means we can get on a game. That'd be
yeah, that would be awesome.
That
would be really awesome.
That's hilarious.
It'd be very entertaining, Aaron. You'd have to tune in for sure.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, that's a given. A given. Yeah. So you mentioned NC State, they hit. I, with USA Baseball and the collegiate national team this summer, was privy to one Jacob Cozart hitting 3 bombs in a couple of games, like 5 or 6 at bats during trials, and then not making the team, which there are reasons. We don't need to flesh those out and get into them, but there are reasons.
You don't want to? I want to know the reasons, but I guess we can save that.
There's a guy from Cal Poly named Ryan Stafford, very likable, very all fit team kind of guy. Actually, I would describe him. It was a very West Coast coaching staff. Word was it was a defensive decision, but as I dig into these metrics from last year, I see that Jacob Cozart's like top 10 in most of those defensively for catchers.
He's really good. I couldn't. So like I actually have not asked any questions about that. Like how did Cozart not make that team? I was baffled by it. I don't have an answer. So it's not like you've got more insight into that than I do, but like, I was like, what? Really?
It was
I don't
confusing.
I don't think the real answer will ever come out like publicly. I mean, they know what they did. I mean, it was
this guy could be, a top 5, top 10 pick this year. Like that's, I think he's like the next great ACC catcher that comes in. There's so many, right? This year was Kyle Teal, all those Georgia Tech guys. There's so many. There's such a rich history of catchers. Did you play with Charles Johnson, Gravy, or is that?
I did. Yeah.
Okay.
My freshman year. Yeah. He was a junior.
God, you're old. I mean,
I'm so old, dude. I know. I'm 50, man. I guess
50. that's pre-ACC anyway, though. That doesn't even count.
It kind of counts because we weren't in a conference. We were independent. Yeah. So even though it was pre-ACC, we still could take claim to that. Yeah. I guess
that's like that's the subject matter, Aaron, that we just avoid with having Danny on an ACC baseball show is that he didn't pitch in the ACC, right? Like that's
Well, yeah. Well, Elliot always tells me that, man, the ACC was so good even back when you played, and I'm like, I don't want to say anything to Coach Avent about me not playing in the ACC, but but another catcher, Buster Posey too.
Yeah,
I mean, it's crazy, and he's not just any old catcher either, obviously. But that's
funny. I mean, just quick tangent, like Buster. I've been doing this long enough now that it's like players that I covered in college are now retiring after Hall of Fame careers. Like when Buster retiring was like, wait, hold on, wait a minute. Yeah. Like it's
you're old
too soon. Now I'm old now. How's this happening?
But no, I mean, I think it's good company to be in, even in a comparative preseason sense, because again, there have been classes of them, right? Patrick Bailey, Joey Bart, the number 1 pick recently, Henry Davis out of Louisville, like
Parada.
Crazy.
Kevin Parada. Yeah. I mean, it is quite simply a catcher's conference in a lot of ways. And
it's wild. I don't know why that is necessarily, but it's cool. And it's like you're right. Like he's kind of that I think the next guy in that lineage. I really believe that. I mean, it's I think he's gonna have a monster year. I mean, you've seen him, like the guy. He can really hit. The body is great. I love the
The
makeup.
body. I'm going to stop you there. The body is not just great; it is insane.
Yeah.
And like his little brother played in a club tournament at USA Baseball this summer too, and he looked 10 years older than anybody else on the field. So it's like it's in their blood to just be monsters of men.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, the body is I think that probably seals the deal in terms of his prospects at the next level in a lot of cases, right? It's yeah, you can play. Oh, and you look like that.
And you're a specimen.
Yeah, exactly. He the scrimmage I saw last week, it's like ho hum, second at bat. It's like grooves 94 fastball into the oppo gap, like 110 miles an hour off the bat for a double. It's like, okay, it's just like it looks so easy. He makes it look easy, man.
Yeah. Any other names in terms of bats that stuck out to you for NC State?
Yes.
One that I'll sort of tee you up on that I'm particularly excited about. The loss of Gino Groover is not a small deal for NC State, I think, for a lot of reasons, in addition to his on-field play. Them getting Alec Makarevich.
Yes.
I started to call him Alec Burleson, which is the wrong ECU product. At Makarevich from ECU to play third base. I mean, this dude's I did a game last year at ECU in which he hit a home run, one from each side of the plate.
Yeah.
Switch hitter. He's got pop from both sides. I think they started to skew in one direction. Maybe the right-handed hitting was the more pop there for a while. But I mean, he can do it. It's a talented player. And I know it's a transfer decision that has people fired up, right? This is a non-con that takes place every single year. Well, not every single year, but should. And when it does, it evokes some emotions. So I think if you incorporate that and you channel that and you're Alec Makarevich, you could come out of this with a pretty good season for the Pack.
Yeah, and he's a really good player with a long track record now. He's been a 4-year regular there since the COVID year in 2020. I mean, I think he's just a winning ball player, and he's a unit too. He's physical. He's listed at 6'2", 217. He looks even bigger than that to me. He's a large human, I think. He carries himself that way, but he runs well for a big guy. He can move a little bit. I think he can defend very well at the hot corner. Like you said, switch hitter. He's got power. He never put up bonkers numbers, never been like a huge numbers guy, but he's 11 home runs the last 2 years, and he gives you enough competitive at bats. There's some swing and miss there, sure, but I just think he's a winning player. I totally agree with you. I think it's a great get for them. Once again, I think they did very well in the portal, as they have in recent years. I mean, you mentioned Groover was a portal get for them. The two kids from Davidson they had in the outfield last year. I mean, they've done very well with kind of a lot of like the mid-major type guys coming in, and ECU. I'm not going to call ECU a mid-major, but like we're not going to do that.
You've
that's
done
a
this
major.
way too long to do that.
Yeah, that's a major program, but from in a mid-major conference, it's just the truth.
Yeah.
But I mean, you get that.
That's like calling them Eastern Carolina.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, don't do that. But you get that guy to come in. You get Garrett Pennington in from Wichita State. Very, very strong bodied dude, like enormous raw power. He's probably going to play first base for him. Thick frame, kind of donkey guy that, has real juice. I saw him take a pretty impressive BP. So they bring you some right-handed pop. They like this guy, Brandon Butterworth, a whole lot. Shortstop, who transferred in from Western Carolina. Another guy, I would look for him to probably be their starting shortstop. Like Elliot was kind of raving about this kid, just in casual conversation after the game. I mean, just loves the defense, thinks he's really gonna hit. I mean, again, I was watching BP. I was like, oh, it's not a real big frame guy, but there's some twitch here. There's some bat speed. And then lo and behold, in the game, He rips one like 108 miles an hour off the bat for a double. I mean, it's sneaky strong too. So that's a nice group of 3 infielders that I think are all going to play right away for them, and kind of just plug holes. They've done a really good job. I don't think they've gotten above their skis in the portal, but they've just gotten good impact guys that can step right in and help them keep it rolling.
So Makarevich is from Lake Brantley High School. He had to have played with Dylan Cruz then, right?
Yeah, good point.
I mean, I would imagine that's about the same time.
Yeah, good point. He's maybe
a year older,
right?
A year or 2 older. Yeah. But I mean, that's another winning program too. You said he's a winner, and
no doubt.
That program in Lake Brantley is one. They've won all the time.
That's a really good point. And it's something we see in college baseball. I don't think we talk about that very often at D1 baseball because we're so focused on the college part of it. But like, how many of these kind of pipeline high school programs do you see? There's a lot of them. I mean, it's like certain high schools where you look at it's like, oh, well, no wonder. This guy's a winning player. He's taught the game the right way. I mean, I think there's a lot to that.
Yeah.
All right, so that puts a bow on BC and NC State. If you want more from Aaron regarding fall ball, autumnal impressions of those 2 programs, head to d1baseball.com. You can read his musings there. ACC-wise, who else are you intrigued to see now? We could ask the same question of the spring, and maybe they're the same answers if we just go through the process of assuming we're not going to see them in the fall. But who are you interested to get a look at in the ACC past those 2?
Gosh, I think the league is so, as a whole, is just so intriguing. Honestly, it feels fairly wide open this year. I don't know that there's necessarily a clear-cut top tier. Other than I think Wake Forest is probably the team to beat again, even though they lost, what they lost. I mean, no more Rhett Lauder, no more Brock Wilkin. I mean, a lot of these guys that had a whole lot of success. I mean, Cam Manassi and I mean, there's a lot on and on and on. Obviously Sullivan is gone, who's a big piece of that thing. But I mean, all that stuff. Seth Keener. I mean, like, all these guys are gone. I don't think it matters. I think it still might be the best pitching staff in the country. Like, it's crazy. You've got Josh Hartle coming back, who's an All-American this year. You bring in Chase Burns, who is the number 1 arm in the portal. I mean, the number 1 guy, undisputed, like a potential top 5 overall pick. You bring him in from Tennessee. I mean, there's not a lot of impact SEC players that leave the SEC.
No,
right.
Danny and I talked about this when it happened. Aaron, there's not a lot of SEC to ACC going on.
That's right. That's where I heard that point. And I was like, you know what? That's a good on your podcast. I was like, that's a really good point. I'm stealing your own point.
He1 listener. Even before the D1 days, Aaron Fitt was listening.
But that's a great point, right? I mean, like, it's not something you see very much. And so like that shows you what they've done there. How appealing Wake Forest has become for people. But you bring that guy in, and then I think Michael Massey, like, Massey's really good. I mean, that's the best rotation in the country, period, right now. And so I think Wake Forest can go to war with those guys. You bring in, our breakout summer prospect of the year, Seaver King, from Wingate.
That's Darren's guy.
Yeah. That's, I mean,
as I said, Danny and I, leading up to the season proper, we'll do some official picks and whatnot. You'd have a hard time keeping me off of Seaver King's going to lead the league in hits, and Seaver King's going to be the ACC Player of the Year right now. I was that impressed with him over the summer. I'm a big fan.
That's a loud proclamation. I love it. I haven't seen him yet because I didn't see Team USA the first time I can remember. I haven't seen Team USA just because of the way it worked out this year. So I didn't get to see him. So that's something. I mean, again, what am I excited to see? That's high on my list. I mean, their whole lineup is so kind of remade. I mean, there's a lot of turnover there, and he, of course, is a real centerpiece of it. So that's something that I'm looking forward to for sure. So Wake Forest, I mean, it does feel like even with what they lost because of their pitching, they've got, I think, the highest floor and highest ceiling. But let's see how the lineup shakes out. I'm curious about that.
Yeah. Danny, what about you? Who are, like, if you could handpick where Aaron's going next to helicopter down on an ACC program so that you can learn more, who do you want him to go see?
Well, so I think he should go, if he hasn't got his ticket already, he needs to go get the Mark Light shakes and see what JD Arteaga is up to right now.
I can't believe it. Didn't see that coming.
I mean, like, if I had to pick, obviously I'm being funny, but I am curious to see like how things are going down there with JD. I mean, he's been there for like 50 years or so, but him running the show now, it's got to be a little bit different. Is the culture the same? What are they feeling down there? And obviously, I don't expect you to answer that right now or anytime soon. But at some point, I would love to hear what's going on down there.
Yeah, that's a great call, and that's one that's like, it's an interesting history, right, of guys that have been at a program for a long time. Maybe been through multiple coaches or whatever, who then get a chance to run it. I mean, Gino was there. I know he had his absence there in the middle of his tenure, but I mean, when he took over, went pretty well, right? I mean, a couple of Omaha runs there. When Mike Martin Jr. took over, not as well. I mean, a guy that had been there since forever, played there in 90s, and has been a long time head coach or assistant coach under his dad, and it didn't go as well. And so, I'm with you. Like, it's now you get a chance to run your own program. Everyone knows how well respected JD is. Great pitching coach for a long time, a great pitcher, who knows how to win. I mean, he's a winner. Guy's a winner. But yeah, I mean, it's like, all right, now it's your turn to sit in the big chair. It's a little bit of a different chair. And so I'm with you. That's an exciting one.
Maybe I'll go with you whenever you go. We'll go and watch them together.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Nice. There it is. I need to get down there. I was talking to their athletic communications person, Josh White, last year at the championship in Durham. I was like, I've never been. I need to go experience, take it all in. I need a Mark Light shake. I need the whole thing, the whole deal. So I got to make that happen too. So we'll go. It'll be a triumvirate here.
I love it. What's Gravy? What's your go-to Mark Light shake flavor? Do you have one?
Okay, so I do not get pissed right now, but I have never had one.
No,
it wasn't a thing back then. I know. But
maybe throw my hat and rage.
I know. I apologize for that. And I almost knew that was coming too, and I've regretted saying Mark Light shakes. But my go-to would be the J. Rokeach.
Yeah, that's the right answer.
Have you had that?
Yeah, that's the right answer.
Okay, yeah, that's the one. That's the only one I would go for. Good. I'm glad that's right.
Or just the first one.
Okay, maybe just the first one.
you gotta get the full assortment, right? That's me.
I know, but see, if there's something that I go for and I like to stick with it for a while.
Nah, man, just wait. You wait. Dude, I get a weekend series there. We're doing 2 a day. I'm trying as many flavors as possible. That's it.
Okay. Yeah, well, if you insist. But the J-Row is first.
So,
gosh, I've never seen Aaron so mad. Like,
I mean, that was it's performative. I'm not gonna lie. I need a new hat.
I don't think I've ever. It's funny you mentioned it. I thought you were going to say you'd never seen Aaron without a hat on.
Well, that too. That's a first, also.
Yeah,
that's
maybe a first for me. Other than maybe like his old BA mugshot where
that's right.
You put it on the byline.
Short hair,
shorter hair. Then, yeah, for sure. I think. And obviously proximity and some sort of biases are playing a factor in this. I'm really curious to see Duke and North Carolina for various reasons, very different reasons. I know there have been some days that Vance Honeycutt has not been participating this fall for North Carolina. So his health is one of the intriguing factors. Man, talk about guys who have been places forever. And he was a JUCO guy from Walters State coming in to North Carolina, but how's Alberto Osuna still there?
Yeah.
Like it's and they're still waiting on him to really like have the seat. His first year was big, but man, he came in with, I mean, they were like, oh, he's going to be our next Aaron Sabato. And he's not quite been that, right? So he had a huge day the other day.
2 home runs.
Two massive blasts. So if he's just sort of been the piece that it always feels like for the past couple of years, man, if they can insert him somewhere in the middle and he is the scary hitter that he's capable of being, it kind of changes things, right? Because otherwise they've got all these on base guys, and they get some timely knocks. Like, man, if you put 20 home runs in the middle of that lineup suddenly, it just seems like a tall task.
I'll give you a comp for that, for his trajectory, I think. I mean, you remember Cody Stubbs when he was at North Carolina, came in as a high profile JUCO transfer, I believe also from Walters State.
Yeah, they've got a bit of a pipeline there. Yeah.
But he came in with some hype, and he was fine his first year. But like unexpectedly, didn't have the kind of year that maybe he wanted. So unexpectedly, he's back for a senior year, and then he kind of went off. I could see. I know this is as soon as third year now, I believe, in the program. But like, I could see him being that like kind of not post hype sleeper, I guess. I mean, I think he has hit some home runs already. Like 2 years ago, he was really good for him. But I mean, like I think he's going to bounce back. I really believe that. I mean, he's strong as a bull. It's just a matter of maybe confidence in the box and pitch selection. I just think it's, I know that's an easy thing to say and not as easy to do, but I mean, let's, I could see it. I could see him being a real bounce back guy.
Yeah.
I like that term, post-hype sleeper.
Yeah.
That's a perfect term for him, I think.
Yeah. I mean, he was, I
like
don't know if he was the number one JUCO recruit, Osuna, or not in the country, but he might've been. He was way up there.
The year before he got to North Carolina, he hit like 52 bombs at Walters State. I mean, he had ridiculous numbers. It was crazy.
Some crazy thing.
So another, and we can talk obviously about pitching and hitting for all these teams. Pitching would be maybe the biggest concern headed to next year, other than if you're not highlighting a million times over Vance Honeycutt's health and his bouncing back. I think pitching would be the primary concern for North Carolina. Just a name I'm interested to see. I have not yet have heard good things. Well, I saw him as a senior in high school, actually. I called the North Carolina State High School Championships for Luke Stevenson and Wake Forest High School. They lost to TC Robertson in that final series. But I got to lay eyes on Stevenson, who they like a lot at catcher. I don't know that this will be the case, but I get the feeling he will be close to an everyday guy behind the plate for them as a true freshman. That's really intriguing to me, especially when you're trying to come off of a year where you never really quite figured it out with a pitching staff.
Yeah,
it's interesting to me. And
they love the makeup too, right? I mean, that's the thing. I mean, you think about some of their best teams. I mean, whether you've got a Jacob Stallings behind the plate, whether you've got a Tim Fedorovich, big leaguers, guys that are real catchers that could really handle the pitching staff and defend and hit also. But I mean, I don't think that's a coincidence. And so maybe he's that guy, maybe he's the next kind of stalwart back there. I know they really like the left-handed bat too. So yeah, I haven't seen them yet. I will see them. Looking forward to it. I know our guy, Pat James, had some notes on them on our site. It does sound like with Knapp, Jake Knapp and Ben Peterson, Dalton Pence back, because returning core on the mound. Yeah. Maybe this Boston Flannery kid sounds exciting, in addition to being a lock for the Gravy and Daron ACC all name team. Boston Flannery, like it doesn't get better than that. Sound like he was up to 95, feel for a slider and kind of a breezy inning in that scrimmage. So I'm intrigued. Let's looking forward to getting out there for sure.
Yeah, and just by way of Knapp's progress over last season, to me it makes total sense that he would come out on top as maybe their Friday guy.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I'd be interested to see him. And then with Duke, is the pitching going to be managed the same way? They got Santucci coming back, so maybe save for him. They kind of take a similar approach depending on what they've got. It's interesting. And then they lose Andrew Fisher to Ole Miss. I expect them to be good again, but they're an interesting team.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think the Fisher thing was a big blow. Really good freshman bat. I mean, that kind of stunk for those guys. To lose him.
Well, you couldn't cover a game of theirs without. I mean, Chris Pollard, their head coach, everyone because I did their games a little bit of everywhere. I went down to Clemson and did the series there, and he played against who was my analyst there, Ron Smith, as a player. Chris did, so they went way back, and Ron went down and talked to him before the game, and this was early on in the series. I mean, in the season rather. This was like the first week of March. And Fisher was the only one Pollard wanted to talk about. He was just like, man, he's next level good. The bat speed is amazing. Every production call we had with Pollard, he had another new stat or metric to justify just how good this kid was. And it's a little tragic because it almost would justify not raving about a kid like that when you've got him in your program if you're a Chris Pollard, right? Whereas, I mean, the good coach thing to do is to let everybody know, hey, this kid's incredible. We want to harness that ability while he's here, but also set him up to have a future in this game. And like, is Pollard going to be a little bit gun shy the next time he gets somebody like that to say things like he spoke so glowingly of Fisher to everyone who crossed his path.
Well, can I jump in real quick before Aaron, you say anything? Just as an outsider, I obviously didn't see him as much as you did, Daron, but and I agree that his hitting ability is ridiculous. Like, he's got big league hitting. Pop, his bat is so quick, yes, but I felt like at times he was a liability at third base. I just felt like defensively he needed to be somewhere else, and obviously that's not a reason why you don't want a kid back. And I'm not saying Pollard didn't want him back, but losing a bat offensively, and I don't know who they're going to have playing third, but is it that big of a blow? I guess that's my question, Aaron. Is it that big of a blow to lose that guy?
Yeah, he was definitely still a work in progress on the defensive side. I think he started the year mostly DHing.
They had him in left field too.
At one point, some
they tried him a little bit of
right.
both.
So yeah, you're right. I mean, certainly not a finished product there, but yeah, I mean, a guy that had all kinds of ability with the bat, and I think you make a good point, Daron, about that's one of the treacherous things about the portal era. We were I think Runes brought it up on our other podcast today. If you're a coach at a mid-major, I mean, do you have to think twice about sending your players to play the Cape because they're going to get poached if they're any good? I mean,
that's a great point too.
It's kind of the same way about talking up guys, telling guys, hey, this kid, this freshman we got is really good. If you're not at like an Ole Miss or an LSU or some SEC superpower, they got all these resources, and maybe if a really good program like Duke that's been to 3 super regionals in 5 years, and you're still gonna have people jump ship on you. NC State, right? Tommy White, after being a folk hero as a true freshman, still jump ship on him. I mean, like, unless you're cream of the crop, when it comes to resources and NIL and all this stuff, like, you run that risk. And so that's just the reality. I don't think the really good coaches, like Chris Pollard, I don't think it's going to change who he is. I mean, he's one of the things
Yeah.
we like about him is he's very honest when it comes to breaking down players. I love how analytical and thoughtful he is in all of his answers with the media, and I think he'll continue to be that. But yeah, you do wonder if there's like, man, I've been burned a little bit now, like maybe dial it back, maybe.
Yeah. No,
Yes.
I mean,
Send your kids to the beach instead of the cave.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? All right, let's wrap things up. Aaron, I did not let you know that we were going to include you in the close of the show, but I mean, you know how it goes.
Oh yeah.
We wrap up every show with what we call Hall of Name. Danny, the former Miami Hurricanes and big league closer, Hall of Famer for both now as of this summer. We let him close out every show by giving us a small look into his experiences as both a college and professional pitcher. Here's how it goes. I pick a former teammate of Danny's. So that is, I've got a list of them. You don't have this, Aaron, but you're welcome to play along. That is including his time with Cleveland, Cincinnati, obviously for the bulk of that, and the New York Mets in there. Danny has promised me a comprehensive list of former minor league teammates, and I still don't have that in my possession, which is fine.
It didn't make it through your email?
No. What was it in the box with the bobblehead? I don't know. Maybe I threw that away. I threw it out.
Oh,
I took it out.
Yeah.
I don't know if you knew this, Gravy. I don't think I've told you this before, but there was a period of time in the early 90s to mid 90s where I was a big Cincinnati Reds fan. I loved I loved Barry Larkin was my guy, Sabo and Mariano Duncan and Rijo and all those guys. Danny Graves, how could you not love them?
Too kind, Aaron.
Listen, no, I'm serious. Like my old man and I, most people are going on, vacations to Disney World. We would drive to Cincinnati. This happened a few times.
Nice.
So anyway,
dude, I wish I could have had that. I wish I could have had that too. Like going to a favorite ballpark growing up. That's pretty cool. Actually, in fact, somebody 2 days ago gave me a Barry Larkin rookie card. So if you'd like that, I'll be glad to give it to you. I don't collect cards.
I don't know why
they gave it to me, but
that's really funny. I did when I was a kid, and actually I got Barry's autograph twice when I was a kid, and I was very excited about it, like at different times. I went through a little phase like a lot of kids where you're chasing autographs, but
yeah,
those
do
are
you
golden,
still have it?
Golden times. I think I do. Yeah,
nice,
somewhere.
Nice. Aaron, it reminds me. I heard over on the D1 Baseball, the main feed, you guys talking about maybe favorite concerts that you'd ever been to. That's sort of your comments about going to Cincinnati reminds me. Yesterday, I saw the Foo Fighters announce their summer tour next year, and being in North Carolina, it's kind of hit or miss. Okay, are they going to come close? They're not. Cincinnati, Ohio is like geographically the closest one, but they're playing. They're playing at Great American Ballpark, and I'm telling you, I'm considering it. I'm considering it and making it a trip to see Foo Fighters. They're like,
do you know the date? Do you know the date of it offhand?
I could pull it up. We'll do it. We'll do it offline.
Okay.
Maybe August. They're July to August. They're doing the ballpark dates.
Yeah, because I may have connections for you there. So
that's what I'm talking about.
I'm sure one of the many Hall of Fames Gravy's a member of is the Cincinnati Reds Hall of Fame. He's probably got all kinds of connections.
Well, there's a plaque of me in there now, so I can ask for stuff now.
Yes,
right.
I couldn't a few months ago, but now I can.
All right, so let's actually do the thing and get Aaron on his way, kind with his time. So I pick a former teammate of Danny's. He has to tell us the first story, interaction, anecdote, awkward elevator ride, whatever comes to mind about that person. All right, so I've got my list. I have not done a great job crossing off people who I have asked him about. But we're going to go with.
I thought you would have had it planned out by now.
No, I always come in with a couple in mind. I really like these later portion of your career Mets years or year. the Mets months. These are fun. Like we've talked about Mike Piazza. We've talked about Pedro.
I might have to plead the fifth on some of these guys, though.
we've talked about Piazza. We've talked about Pedro Martinez. Have I asked you about Jose Reyes?
No, you haven't.
All right, then it's Jose Reyes, who is like an R&B artist now. He can find his stuff on Spotify, and it's like kind of boppy. It's pretty good.
Wow.
Yeah, he is really good. So my first interaction with Jose, obviously, before I played with him, and this is almost like I got to tell you a few other things that happened. So when I was with Cincinnati, I don't even know if he had to have been there. Anyways, I was on base. I got on base somehow. I don't remember exactly how. And I was on second, and I got my lead a little bit, and then I felt like something coming. or heard him or something. I don't know what it was. And I turned around. I jumped back and got to the base. He's like, no, you okay? You okay? like he was trying to tell me, I'm not trying to pick you off. And I'm like totally scared me. It was so scary because he's so fast, you know? Anyways, that was my first interaction with Jose Reyes. But then becoming a teammate of his, he's very funny because he mixes his Spanish and his English when he's talking, and he's always trying to make jokes with people. And like he was just an amazing dude, a really cool guy. When I played with him in 2005, he had just started to get tattoos. So he sent me to his tattoo guy that I went to at 8:00 in the morning and got just 2 random tattoos on my arm and came back. Well, by the end of the year, he was fully tatted, sleeves, neck, chest, everything. So he got it all done very quickly. But that was the thing with me and Jose. We just talked about tattoos and stuff.
Hold on. All right. The obvious follow-up. What are the 2, just like little banger pieces? What are the 2 that you got from Jose Reyes's guy?
So let's see if I can show you here. Arm. There's like, hold on. Okay, there we go. So it's like a little wave with some tribal around it.
Okay.
And then a little further down, it's mixed in with some other ones, but there's a horseshoe with flames that says gravy on it.
Nice.
Nice. Okay.
So, yep. Yeah, those are the 2 from Reyes's tattoo guy. That was before all this other nonsense is on there, so you could actually see it when I got it. Yeah. So that's my thing with Jose.
No, that's great. Like that's not.
Yeah.
You know. I don't know if we would allow you to tell like Eskimo Brothers stories, but that feels like the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like that's as close as we're gonna get within the structure, the format of Hall of Names. So that's good. That's great.
Right. Now that we have sponsors, I have to be careful with my stories. Yeah. I don't want to lose sponsors before the season starts.
let me let Aaron get a Hall of name in, because obviously you got some Reds players. I have, by the way, used college teammates of Gravy's for this, and I know you mentioned
Team
one
USA
or two
teammates. Yeah.
I want to go back to those Reds teams, because again, I was a Reds guy for a while. Were you on the '95 team, or was that before your time?
That was before me. So I got traded to them '97.
Okay. Let's see, '97. How about
I almost was going to predict who he was going to say, but I can't do it.
97.
Danny's intuitive. Most of the time he guesses who I'm going to say.
I thought you were going with Dion.
That was the first name that I was going to throw at you, because I was curious, but I thought he was gone by then. Was he still on that team?
Yeah. So when I got traded there, he had left to go to the football, his football season, but he had 50 something stolen bases before he left, which was it. I guess he left maybe June or beginning of July, because I got traded there July 31st. But then I played with him again in 2001.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you got?
So
What do you got on Coach
that,
Prime?
okay. Oh yeah. So I'll go ahead. I think Daron. Have we talked about him? Have I
No,
used him?
we've never. Believe it or not, we've not talked about Dion.
So Dion is like probably one of my favorite dudes I've ever played with. Just because one, he's prime time, and he's just such a friendly dude inside the clubhouse. Like spring training, he would always go fishing after workouts or whatever. He had a truck, and he just put a little John boat in the bed of the truck and just invited whoever wanted to go fishing to go fishing. Unfortunately, I never did, but he was just such a laid back kind of dude, you know. But the biggest thing about Dion and me is my nickname, Babyface Assassin, was given to me by Deion Sanders. He said one time after a game, I got a save, and he came in, "Ooh, that's the Baby-faced Assassin," you know, in his primetime voice.
What?
That's so good. God, that's so good.
Did you know that, Aaron? You're shaking your head. Have you heard that?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So
we've been burying the lead. We've been doing Hall of Name for close to a damn year, and we've been burying the lead.
That's like it's like Shaq giving Paul Pierce the nickname The Truth. You know, it's like when you get a nickname from Dion, like that. Well, that's that. That's that.
That's what I'll be known as for the rest of forever.
Yeah, and he said it to me one time, and then somebody heard him say it, and then that person said it to the media, and then it got out. But Deion Sanders is the first one that said it.
That's so good, man. Oh,
yeah,
I'm amazed.
That's my claim to fame with primetime.
I can't believe we haven't covered this. I can't.
Yeah. Well, I tell that story to a lot of people, like all other media outlets that I like first do stuff with.
Yeah.
They always ask, like, how did you get that nickname? And I said, well, since you asked, I'll tell you. And then, so I can't remember who all I've told, but I thought you knew that, Daron.
I can't wait to put it in the podcast description. Look, man, in the fall of 2023, that's as clickbaity as it gets. There you go.
Sure. No doubt. Topical. That's topical.
Yeah.
Subscriptions are going to skyrocket. Here we go.
Even more reason for me to be careful what I say here with all these sponsors.
That's right. That's right. Careful now.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, Aaron. Excellent stuff. We appreciate your autumnal impressions. We will certainly have you back as you are in the family. We are in the family, I should say. You're in the rotation. So
welcome to the family, guys. This is so exciting. Really, really, to be on here on your program, part of the D1 umbrella. Boy, it's just a match made in heaven.
It made too much sense.
It really did make too much sense. I mean, because we hang out everywhere else that we see each other.
Yeah.
You know, so no, we appreciate it and always love to have you on here.
This was fun, guys.
Cool. Right on. With that being said, be sure you check out the main D1 feed, Highway to Hoover, the SEC podcast as well. As a reminder, we're on Twitter and Instagram at ACCBSBETC. On both of those, subscribe, follow, you know the drill, rate, review, all that fun stuff. 5 stars because Deion Sanders gave Danny his nickname. Why would you not give us 5 stars? We get to catch up on some correspondence too, Danny, read some reviews on the show. And I do have some mailing addresses to get gear out to or memorabilia or something of the like. Maybe we're in line to maybe it is high time we get some ACC baseball, etc. gear and start sending that out.
Yeah.
We'll see.
That would be a good idea.
I hear you've got a Barry Larkin rookie card that you can auction off too for a good cause.
Yeah. Well, to the Aaron Relaxed Fit cause. I want to give it to you. I really want to give it to you.
Bring it to Omaha. I'll take it.
Yeah. Like if you wait 10 seconds, I'll show you to prove it.
You've got it with you?
He just gave it to me.
Oh, just now. Okay. I was going to say, to reiterate.
So oh, look at that. It's like the classic 88 tops. Is that what that is?
Yeah, that's good.
87?
The wood bat panel.
87.
87.
87.
That's
yep.
a gem.
Yeah, 87. Nice. Yeah. So this is Aaron's gift for coming on the show. And not everybody that comes on the show is going to get a rookie card of Barry Larkin, just to clarify.
True.
Man, I feel special now. I love it.
Nice. All right. Well, Aaron, appreciate it again, we
Yes,
will
thank you.
catch up soon. Looking forward to the next D1 baseball podcast over on that feed. Like I said, everyone listening should go check that out as well. And that does it. That's it. That's it. This has been ACC Baseball, etc. Thanks for watching and or listening. We'll see you later.